experience is Matt Burbay. He works with NBC Universal Media. He's the Vice President of Facilities Operations and Engineering there. He specializes in energy, and he specialized at Caltech and NASA. He's got a BS in Mechanical Engineering and an MBA. I've put this bullet point on the slide, he takes an interest in swimming. That's a little bit of an understatement. He's actually a national triathlete, and he just got back from running the Boston Marathon last week. And I don't know if he'll talk about it, but he's got a special interest in rough water and salmon. Which refers to some of the change management processes that he's worked with in his experience. So, without any further ado, Mr. Matt Burbay.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me this morning. It's a pleasure to be here and to have your trust for a few minutes this morning to take you through our story, NBC Universal. What I can promise you is that for this next 45 minutes, I will share with you as much of my experience as I can and give you hopefully ideas to take away from here today to spark conversation, to give you some little aha moments, and hopefully just really empower you to get maximum value from the investment that you've made in this very powerful technology that's Archibus. So that's my hope for this morning. So I'll bring it with everything I got. I've packed in tons of content in all kinds of subject areas. We'll dig into it, and I'll be happy to talk with anybody after the session this morning as we get underway. So, as we introduced here, I'm from NBC Universal Operations Technology. This is the West Coast studio operations. So we have the Lower Lot Studios. We have several West Coast properties that are in the portfolio here. And what I'm going to do is take you through our implementation and share with you strategy and talk about data management and teams and communication. But before I do that, I thought we can kind of spark it up a little bit. You know, we are a media company and we are from Hollywood. So if we will, let's kick over for a little video and have a little fun. What facilities is all about. So let's get into it now. Again, you may be picking up on this. I actually don't have any slides to share with you today. I have more of an animated story to take you through at the time we have together. So Universal Studios is located in Burbank, California. That's where we're from. What's interesting, in this 400-acre property, there's a theme park, there's a massive complex of underground utilities, infrastructure, and this campus is 100 years old, more than 100 years old. And it has a rich history, you know, in Hollywood and in the film creation business. So I wanted to share a little bit of this rich content that is the history of the company here, and share with you that, you know, for 100 years, this property's been making, its company's been making movies. And what facilities is in charge of is making that property run. The lights turn on, make sure the space is available, that it's there and accessible. You can tell it's looking quite different today than it did 100 years ago. But what also I'm going to take you through today, we didn't just implement Archibus at that one property. We actually did it concurrently across multiple sites on the West Coast, including DreamWorks, which is a beautiful campus located in Glendale. You can see here a couple of funny images showing their courtyard, a very rich campus setting, very beautiful clock tower they have, all lit up at nighttime for some events we have there. And then continuing, The third property we implemented this IWMS system is at this high-rise facility in Los Angeles called 10 Universal City Plaza. So 3 unique properties, 3 unique facilities teams, all implementing at the same time, migrating from 3 different work order systems into one. And then on top of that, interfacing in data from certain systems and building interface strategy to different enterprise platforms that we need to have this be a fully integrated solution. I'll share with you some of the lessons learned and some of the strategy we deployed through that process. Partnered with Newmark Knight Frank, so they're here today, so I definitely recommend speaking with them. They're a strong partner of ours in the implementation that we undertook, and they understand a lot of the nuances to the technology and the data management that we deployed. The timeline was about a year of implementation, launching the system in December of last year, and then, as you'll see through our discussion today, taking you through the service center and kind of customer experience portions that are all relying on this technology to make this process happen. So, this is our abstract, our conference session agenda for today. I was going to make it a bunch of bullets, but I thought this would be more fun. That you can see in a word cloud, there's various topics, hopefully that you find interesting or maybe strike a chord with you that are right in your wheelhouse. I'm going to speak to each of these to some degree today. And through that, I'm going to show you how we have really smashed into and made fantastic progress towards all of our facilities goals. Providing a best-in-class customer service, reliably setting and meeting expectations of customers, being proactive in our operations, and then building a robust asset and space management system. But that's what Archibus is. It's an asset and space management system that you do work orders against. And through all that architecture, you're transforming the customer experience because it should be invisible. It should just be simple, easy, very predictable. So I'll come back to these as we go. So I get asked this a lot. So Matt, what are the keys to success in this type of complex implementation? You know, everyone's different. I've done several myself in my career, and you learn every time, and if you attack them and you find the little areas that really resonate with your company, that's how you can find these gems. So I'll share with you ones that I've learned and ones that our team have enjoyed working together. We have many team members here. Definitely recommend talking to them. I'll be introducing you to them as we go along today too. So how I'm going to do that is through a communication strategy called the IWMS Weekly News. It's something that we did at NBC Universal to share the highlights on a weekly basis of everything that's involved in the implementation that can take weeks and months. So here's a sample of what one of them looks like. It's a simple newsletter, very kind of artfully made and containing key content talking about various topics that we're implementing that week or that month. So here's one sample of what they look like. But what I've done that's hopefully you're going to find unique and I am very excited to show you is they've all been stitched together into this matrix. It took several months to build this. And the goal is I want to give you the highlights now. I want to give you the key takeaways in this matrix of implementation, best practices and strategy, all focused on the customer experience and leveraging technology. So let's jump into it, and I'll take you all through our journey. Here's where we started. Believe it or not, in the very beginning, one of the very first sessions we did, we were talking about work types. You may say, Matt, why would you start there? Well, because it's all about data and being super careful that your teams understand that when you say, well, tell me your top 5 services by trade. Well, why would you ask that? Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, because if you don't get this right, you're going to build up upon that framework in a way that's not going to give you valuable, actionable data for reporting down the road. You're going to say, well, do I pick this type or that type? And it takes months to get this right. I'm sure there's many folks in the room that can appreciate this. These lists can be very organic if you're not careful. So we spent countless weeks and months talking about the types of work that we do and the types of support that we provide. So switching gears, I'll show you how this kind of connects together. The other piece that we started early in the implementation is mobility. I've noticed in the agenda for the conference there's several tracks talking about mobility and mobility implementation. So I'll share with you a couple of the key levers that we deployed to make mobility happen for NBC Universal. And it started with, probably as you can imagine, well, do you get cellular or Wi-Fi? I'm sure many people here are wrestling with this probably now. So we did what you'd expect. You got the Wi-Fi map of the property, say, well, how's the coverage look, all that business. And then on the lower lot, we have union population. That's a daily hire type of situation. So one of the things we had to look at was, well, how frequently are the daily hires on the property? And this analysis was very important because up until this point, there was kind of a confusion around, would if you had a mobile device issued to a mechanic who's a daily, how does that work? How do you police that? What's the governance structure? How do you manage that through a mobile device management plan, the MDM? So the data proved that they're there daily, and that's why we can manage and issue cellular phones, we get iPhones, to the teams. So this is Richard. It's one of my favorite pictures, where he on his own brought in different size devices, and this was part of the discovery. We talk about the Goldilocks effect kind of the mobile device. Bigger, smaller, cellular, Wi-Fi, all of those conversations we had. But the point is that it was the teams doing it. It wasn't the management team showing up saying, well, here is the device. We want this to be a tool that the teams use every day and it's their go-to. So I love this one of Richard. It's like classic. Doing some branding, right? So getting the ruggedized case, taking the little extra effort to put the branding on the back of it to make it feel proud and very recognizable. And then going a little further, this is a quick shout out to the guys from Newmark Knight Frank, personalizing the mobile app a little bit, so that way when you log in, it looks like home. It's very doable. Talk to your implementer, and they'll let you know how to do it. So here's where the rubber hits the road. So immediately connecting in the value of a mobile platform and technology and good data practices with those technicians who have not had a lot of technology before, not in the field. So why does this matter to you? How does this help you? Well, you're now connected to work orders. You're connected to assets and rich data about space and where people sit. And those work types, they're right there at your fingertips too. And as I show you more as we move forward, you'll see how these are used for troubleshooting and for root cause analysis, really more advanced maintenance activities that you can never really do manually very effectively. You can do, but you can't do to the extent possible now with technology. And then having a little fun. This is Crystal's mouse there. She's our service center supervisor, showing that you can attach photos through mobile. And we take for granted that the iPhone is so glued to us now, but in maintenance and in the trade, that's still not so. That it's easy to connect related documents and attachments into work orders. So just showing our teams that this is possible has been key. Building on the framework some more, we'll talk process a little bit. So implementing process behind the technology in zone maintenance. So in our world, again, this is focusing back on the goals, becoming proactive. That's what zone maintenance is. We didn't have zone maintenance before. So we implemented these new processes at the same time as the technology and the mobility and this framework that's really transforming the operation. Having goals and communicating the goals again and again. We find it so you don't. This is a very simple mantra for our facilities guy, and that's what I am, and that's what our team is. We find it so you don't. Our customers are not there to report facilities issues. So being proactive. Having documented work types, defining zone boundaries, communicating expectations, all those things help you drive forward. I'm not going to take you through a bunch of process, but I did pick a few that show you how it transforms. Because prior to Archibus, we had a work order system, and every work order type was basically the same. So the change point here is that identifying you have multiple work order types that you can define. And they're up to us. So you see in ours, we have reactive, we have plan predictive, plan preventative, plan corrective, zone maintenance, and various types of support. Those are the types of things that we do as a facilities organization. We support our clients through these different types of work. And now, because we've taken the time to talk about the data, I can report on it. So how much support do you do for the theme park? Well, I can show you now. It's a work order type. Very easy to do once you kind of have this kind of framework about how to attack these topics. And with your implementation companies that you're working with, take the time to talk these things through. Taking your typical, I'm sure everyone in here has got some kind of form in the facilities office that you wish were electronic. So just take the time to socialize that this form that people have found value in is now going to be enhanced. We're not saying, well, we're going to switch how you do your work necessarily, but this is a better, stronger, more connected way of operating. And then focusing on goals, minimizing work interruption, focus on customer satisfaction, knowledge sharing, and performance. Again, taking the time to really communicate why these programs are being put in place at the same time as the technology. Rich data. So I'm going to talk about data a lot today. You'll see why, as this, again, pays dividends for the company. So simple trends and analytics that are built show, okay, how are zone maintenance inspections performing? Are they maintaining? Am I doing them? Am I becoming more proactive? The trend on the bottom is just a simple trend line that shows you per week that we're doing inspections. Nothing difficult. This one's a little bit fancier, where I'm showing you the relationship between reactive and planned work. And if I get a little fancier than that, I can say, well, now I can show you the cost of the reactive to the planned work, and that's where the money comes from. We all know being proactive in maintenance is a better way to be, but showing you the data behind the cost benefit is really where the rubber hits the road. So making sure that we can do this reporting from the beginning is the key. And then giving shout outs to our zone maintenance top performers in the various areas where they work. Find a champion in each area and give them a gift card or a pat on the back, put them in a photo. Those things go a really long way, to help with change management and help your team be part of something special. So this really is a core piece of the whole talk now. Setting and meeting expectations. And let me explain why. So in facilities, this is what we're about. It's about being predictable, it's about accountability, and it's something we take a lot of pride in. And we're constantly communicating this and working on it as an organization. It's core to our culture. Here's a fantastic quote on the subject. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that has taken place. So a show of hands, like if you were a facilities group, how many of you have like a single work order a day? No way, right? You have hundreds of them a day. Super easy to fall into this trap that we've thought that communication's happening. So now we have to leverage technology to help us. And that's where this comes into. So the values that we have that we talk about in our leadership sessions really come through. So let me explain. Work order priorities. That's setting and meeting expectations if you have an SLA behind them. And that's what this is about. So linking those together and communicating that fact and teaching it. So service level agreements, Archibus, I'm sure you guys all are familiar with this. Time to respond, time to complete. That's where the rubber hits the road with this. You're setting and meeting expectations with your service level agreements in Archibus. It's very different than just turning one on and saying, now I have 5,000 work orders that are overdue. You see, so this is really core. And why I wanted to include this here as an example of leveraging those work order priorities and then showing how they connect to that larger strategy. Taking the time to build graphics that can explain when emails go out from an SLA. Approved, issued and in process, complete. That's when they go to the customers. I sent this graphic to the customers, but I also sent it to all of our teams. Because when you're in the mobile app and you're changing the status to complete, probably better be sure it's complete, or you're going to get the little nasty ground that the job's not done. So simple, easy things that are all included in the newsletters that we've built and now in our training processes. That I wanted to share with you some of the visual tools that we've used along the way here. Work order fundamentals. So again, I'm a maintenance guy, I'm a mechanical engineer, stick to the basics. So we still talk about this now. I mean, you have a work order that gets opened, it gets triaged by a help desk, it gets planned and scheduled, and then assigned for work. We're not talking anything fancy here, but not taking for granted that in pre-Archibus time, we had one work order, we didn't even have a service center, and they'd fly in through email. I mean, you could probably relate to some of you. That's hard to manage. So talking fundamentals, start and stop the time, put comments on a work order, add a picture perhaps, change the status. That's all I really want at the beginning phase of implementation, just understand those key things. Work order fundamentals leveraged through powerful technology. Work control. We didn't really have this operation before, but now we do. So what is work control? So work control is a very classic term. Before I jump into that, I'm going to show you a couple of little snippets. As these newsletters go out, I send them, and then I get emails back from my team. Say, Matt, this is great. I learned something. This is all starting to happen. This is like powerful communication and why these are so important to do. So multi-trade. I'm sure in the ops world you can appreciate there's a painter, there's a janitorial team, there's plumbers, and we have to organize all that work. and not trip over each other. So we built a work control division. That's what they do. They manage the weekly work schedule. And they have to adjust and be dynamic, and you leverage technology to do it. There's Brittany. She's our work control supervisor. She's fantastic. She manages these complex facilities jobs. They're not projects, but they have multiple phases. And you guys know that in Archibus, there's a variety of ways you can set up work orders to handle this. So we have a whole schema that just handles work control. Using the labor scheduler. This would be a fancy way to do it. So I'm sure many of you use this tool. We just recently reset it so that way it goes to a 24-hour calendar. And we've color-coded it so we can show PM work and reactive work on the same view. And obviously you filter by trade. Line up all the jobs and then you're on your way. We have a weekly work planning meeting like I just described. We get in there, we say, show me all the multi-trade jobs. And let's figure out and communicate the dependencies. So we're confident that we set an expectation with the customer that we're going to wrap this job up by Thursday at 3. We're not going to get a call from them saying, well, everything was done great, but you forgot to clean up afterwards because you didn't schedule janitorial at the end of it.